I'm sure some of you are already familiar with this United Airlines that made an emergency landing in the wee hours of Friday morning in Lagos. But if you missed the story, here is a quick summary of what happened. So the flight, which had 245 passengers on board, left Lagos at about 11:59 p.m. on Thursday evening and was heading for Washington in the United States of America. But less than 2 hours into the flight, passengers noticed something unusual. According to a passenger who was on the flight, the incident happened when they had unfastened their seatbelts and were about to start eating when the plane lost pressure. Now, it is unclear what made the aircraft to make the emergency landing, but from what the airline said in a statement, the cause was not severe turbulence, and that it is working with aviation authorities in the US and Nigeria to understand the cause. But the confirmed flight 613 started descending abruptly from cruising altitude approximately 93 minutes after takeoff, which then forced them to return to Lagos. Thankfully, the pilot was able to masterfully land the failing aircraft in Lagos at about 3:22 a.m. on Friday without any major incident. But as you can see from this video taken by a passenger in the plane, it must have been a night and flight of total and absolute chaos. And I can only imagine what it must have been to be on that flight. Now, while I recognize that this kind of incidences can happen to any aircraft or indeed any airline, there are a few questions that I feel that United Airlines need to answer. Now, to be clear, I'm no aviation expert. As a matter of fact, there is so much that I do not know or understand about how this industry works. But I believe those limitations shouldn't invalidate some of the layman's observations that I have. Now, according to United Airlines' own statement, this incident happened almost 2 hours into the flight. And from what is being reported in the media, that would have placed the aircraft in the airspace of the Ivory Coast. So the question is, why did the airline, or should I say the pilot, decided to land in Lagos when he could have landed in either Ivory Coast where the incident started or a nearby airport, whether in Ghana or anywhere nearby, instead of the almost 2-hour trip back to Lagos? I thought that should have been the common sense thing to do, especially in an industry where their motto seems to be safety first. And wasn't heading back to Lagos a great risk? I understand there are several factors the pilot would consider when making the decision to land in an emergency situation. But to think that none of these factors was good enough for him to land in a nearby airport still beats me. Now, second of all, and this is the most troubling part of the story, according to Flight Tracker, a live flight tracker that shows air traffic in real time, the same aircraft flying from Lagos to Washington had previously been diverted on Tuesday. Altitude data from that flight showed a rapid descent of 1,000 feet about 89 minutes into the flight. It is, however, unclear whether the diversions in these two flights are related. Of course, it is worth noting that this aircraft seemed to have some kind of problem, and one is left wondering why an aircraft that had that kind of problem on Tuesday was back in the air on Thursday. But like I admitted earlier, there is so much that I don't know in this industry. But these are some of the questions that have been popping up in my head since the story broke. And it would be great if investigations promised by United Airlines and the aviation authorities in Nigeria can answer some of these questions.